what project management is, the A to Z of project management. We'll spend about 15-20 minutes explaining this slide. This slide is of course very, very important. And as I said yesterday, anything that you encounter in a project environment must fit into one of these processes. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Why? This screen, this slide that you see, the list of processes, is all the encapsulation, all the project management processes across industries, oil and gas, IT industry, financial industry, insurance industry, wherever you are, wherever there is project management, small organization, big organization, startup organization, doesn't matter. This framework is bringing the essence of project management. If you can understand this slide very well, you can be confidently, you will be able to attend any interviews. Having said that, it's not going to come in one day, right? It's going to come, it's going to take you a few days, a few weeks. And of course, a lot of reading has to happen from your side. A lot of reading, and then you will get stuck. You will not understand. You will not remember. You will not recap some of the topics that you learned maybe yesterday or day before. Then that is where, when you realize you don't understand or you don't remember, then you will revisit it. And you will ask in the class. I want more and more doubts to be coming in the class. Yesterday was very interactive. Yeah. So please raise doubts. Let me walk you through for the 15, 10, 20 minutes. Now, what is project? Yesterday we had very good questions. Now let's, initiation. What is initiation? And initiation, how many processes are there? There are only two processes. What are the two processes? Develop project charter, and if you look at the bottom, identify stakeholders. Correct? Now what is develop project charter? Develop project charter, as I said, is similar to a birth certificate. Don't say it is a birth certificate, okay? For you to understand, I'm giving you this example. It's like a birth cert. If you don't have a project charter, you are lost in the woods. You are directionless. If we all go into some woods, unknown woods, Amazon jungle, let's go there. Someone airdrops us in and the flight takes off. What are you seeing? Everywhere you are seeing trees, animal, water, nature. Which side do you have to go home? Where is civilization? Where are human beings living? How are you going to get your food? Absolutely. It's not a blueprint, Rizwan. It's a seed document for a blueprint. Am I clear? Yeah. It's a seed document. That's like a seed. If you don't have a seed, can you grow a tree or plant? So develop project charter is a commitment. What is one thing definitely the project is going to entail is cost, isn't it? But yes, of course, you're going to create the product, service, or result. That aside, first, what is a fuel without which this project cannot go ahead? Money, dollars, right? For any project, of course, you need the product specification. You know what to have. You have to prepare everything. You can have all that, right? You say, oh, we will construct a swimming pool, or correct Rizwan. We construct a swimming pool, or we'll construct a condominium, or we'll develop an e-commerce application. All that is fine. Bottom of it, what do you need? Money, right? Okay, so you need money. And where that money comes from? Where the money comes from? Who commits with money? You can have the blueprint, you can have everything, product specification, beautifully just documented, every aspect of the product that you're going to create. But no money, nothing moves, right? Do you think the project manager is going to work for free, or the team members are going to be, they will see for 1 month, 2 months, if they don't get salary, what do? They will move on. They will move on. Exactly. So the charter is the most important document. It becomes very foundation of the project that you're going to engage in. And what it tells, yesterday we saw that who signs a project charter, it can never ever be a project manager, because a project manager does not have access to the investable project funds. Someone else in the business organization, someone else, whoever has access to the business, investable capital, investable money, will have the authority to sign. He alone can say, because he is going to fund it. Remember, funding a project is very, very important. You can have everything in place, but if funding is not there, do you think the project will move? It will not move. So project charter, it's not only just funding, right? Let's assume you got $1 million, but they didn't tell you what you should do. What will you do with the $1 million? You will be again directionless. To get your project direction right, you need a couple of things. One is what you want to create, in no particular order, okay? There is no particular order. These are 3 or 4 pillars. If the 4 pillars are going to hold the roof, then which pillar is important, can you say? Any one pillar you pull out, the roof will fall. So it's like pillar, right? So what does the project charter give you? First of all, it tells you what is the product you want to develop. And then 3 things, remember always 3 important things in any project. It's called a triple constraint. 3 key objectives of a project. Scope. What is scope? Scope is what you want to deliver. If someone asks you to construct a swimming pool, will you go ahead and construct the swimming pool? You will ask questions, isn't it? Tell me where it is, how deep it has to be, how wide, how long, etc., etc. Right? So that is scope. All those questions relate to scope. Relates to the Rizwan, yes, the project stakeholder create the project charter. Now, I don't agree with you fully. I will not say the stakeholder creates the project charter. I will say the sponsor creates the project charter. Is sponsor a stakeholder? Yes, sponsor is a stakeholder. Is the junior programmer sitting in the project team a stakeholder? Yes, the junior programmer is a stakeholder. If you are going to create an application, let us say your customer's customer, the consumer, the person who is going to buy in Lazada or Amazon.sg or whoever, you, I, everyone go to Carousel or Lazada or Amazon. We are all end users, isn't it? End users. We have nothing to do with the company, Lazada or Amazon. We are end users. If you want to buy something, if you want to buy a very nice pen or chair, furniture or whatever, you go to all these websites. We are all end users. End user is also a stakeholder. So if you look at stakeholder, who are all the stakeholders? The definition of a stakeholder, I'm spawning into stakeholders. I didn't want to cover stakeholders till we come to the stakeholder process, but now that you raised it, I will cover both, because both are under initiation. Who are all stakeholders? Anyone who is positively impacted or negatively impacted by the project. Simple definition. The sponsor is one who funds the project. Yes, he is also a stakeholder. The stakeholder is an umbrella definition. Every Tom, Dick and Harry will come into that as a stakeholder. Do you understand that? Now I'll ask you a question. Let's assume we are all doing a project. We are all project team members sitting under one floor. and doing our project work. We are maybe creating an e-commerce application. Let's assume. Right? Someone is developer, someone is a tester, someone is a solution architect, so on and so forth. Let's not go through. We are all members of a project team. And there is one pantry lady, auntie, right? Who gives you coffee, who gives me coffee, who serves if there are some meeting invitees from other organizations, maybe vendors, other stakeholders or other customers. She provides coffee or tea to everyone. Now, this coffee or tea providing lady, she doesn't do anything in project work. She does not know IT, right? She doesn't know development. She's not doing coding. She's not doing testing. She's far away from all the main core, hardcore project activities. But is she a stakeholder? Yes, she is a stakeholder. Why? Because her interests are affected, isn't it? If the project is completed and the company says, oh, project pantry lady, thank you so much, your contract ends now because our project is completed. We have no project team, so you have no employment. How many of you would have thought that the project, the pantry lady is a stakeholder? You might not have thought. But her interest is positively or negatively impacted, so she also becomes a stakeholder. One experiment, you have sponsor who has got all tons of money, the $1 million money to invest in the project, in his control. This person is also a stakeholder. A junior intern, a very junior person who is interning as a project team member, is also a stakeholder. The end consumer, outside the boundary of project, outside the boundary of organization, from the public, right? The consumer is amongst the public, whoever is going to use your system, e-commerce application system. That person is all, we don't know who are all going to use. The general public, they are also stakeholders. And the pantry lady is also a stakeholder. Do you see the breadth and depth of what the stakeholder means? So when you use as a project management professional, if in an interview someone is going to ask you, don't use the word stakeholder. If you can go deeper, because stakeholder is a generic term. If you want to address a sponsor, you will say it's a sponsor, because it's a very specific stakeholder term, right? And if you are going to address a project manager as a stakeholder, project manager is also stakeholder, right? But you don't call him stakeholder. He is a stakeholder, but you will address him by a refined, very specific terminology, which is project manager, project team member. Oh, pantry lady, of course, pantry lady will be pantry lady or support, project team support team, you can call them, decent. Charter is created by the sponsor, 100%. Please etch it in your brains. Charter is not going to be signed by project manager. Project manager has no authority to invest the funds. He doesn't have access to funds. If the project is going to cost you $1 million, who is funding the $1 million? Is the project manager funding it? No, it's a sponsor. So is that clear, Ishan? I want you to confirm that. And not only Ishan, everyone, Ishan. Everyone, understand this? If someone asks you, hey, can the project charter be signed by the project manager? You will put your foot down and say, no, project manager can never sign a charter. Why? He doesn't have the money. Absolutely by the sponsor only. Signed by the sponsor. Project manager can draft, can do the clerical work. Not as a project manager, as some benevolent team member, that's all. He may be helping, if identified. Is it always necessary that project manager should be identified? May not be. Project manager may not have been identified when the charter is created. It's the business, the CEO, the CFO or the chief operating officer, whoever is vested with the money that can be spent for the project will sign the project charter. At that time, there may be a project manager. They may say, oh, let's go to the market and hire a project manager because this is a new complex project. We don't have people to manage. When you say created, beware. Okay, Ishan, I'm going to clarify your statement. Not created by PM and signed by sponsor. What do you mean? Not created by PM. Let me unmute all of you. I want it to be a bit participative. Okay, I have to unshare only then I can. Okay. Let me go and unmute all of you, please. Because if you're going to type, then it's going to be very, 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 very difficult to interact. Be interactive. I have unmuted all of you. Who are having background noise, please mute yourself. Now, Lisa, I want you to answer the question which you asked me, right? I want to clarify. I'm going to clarify your statement. Say it's not created by PM and signed by the sponsor is your question. When you say created by PM, what do you mean?
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
I mean the charter is drafted by the PM and then signed by the sponsor. Or is it all done by the sponsor itself?
Okay, I will answer your question. Let's assume we are all in a business or company, okay? We are all into, let's say we are all part of a software company. We are all in a software company. Okay, let us say, Isan, you are the CEO, okay? And you have got $1 million. Shareholders have authorized you. You as a CEO, you have the authority to spend $1 million on a project, and you want to develop an e-commerce application for maybe for some client, doesn't matter, or maybe as a product that you want to sell. Now assume that your team has got only professionals who are software professionals who know everything about creating the product, but there is no qualified project manager in your team. There is no one who has got a project management experience. And you, as CEO, do all your pre-project work, you do your business case, you do all your market research, you do your estimate, you make a neat statement, and then decide, oh, it is in the best interest of my company to proceed with this project. It is you as CEO who thinks that you want to proceed with this project. And then you may write the project charter yourself, or you may get your secretary to write it, or you may get your even pantry lady to write it if she knows English. Right? It doesn't matter who is going to write it. Who is going to sign it is important. If you see project charter which is signed, which is written beautifully, but there's no signature to it, is it a live document?
So drafted by can be by anybody lah.
Anybody, including the pantry lady. See, that's what I want you to understand. And second thing, now remember, the project chart, see, as a CEO, you are putting in money, right? But you may not have a project manager in your organization. Does it mean that you will not sign the charter? You want to go ahead with the project. You have decided you are going to put $1 million into the project and that you are going to create a particular product. And you, as a CEO, will sign the charter, whether you have a project manager or not. Possible you may have, possible you may not have. If you don't have a project manager, then he will not be there in the picture. He is not in this company yet. So you will do it. You will sign, you can draft it, you can sign it, you can get your secretary to draft it and you will sign it, but you will be signing it.
Understood.
Right to the certificate, the charter comes because of the signature, which is validating all the contents there. Now, a project manager, if he's not there in that company, what will you do as a CEO? You will call your HR and tell, hey, go create a JD for the project manager. I want him to be PMP certified. I want him to be 10 years experience in a project. I want him to have managed region projects. I want him to have managed projects of the size of $2 million. All this you will tell your HR and they will create a beautifully a JD and they will release JD into eFinancial Careers or wherever, right? The JobSmart or JobsDB or Monster.com, wherever, Indeed.com, they will just release this JD into the market, and then 200 applicants will apply for the project manager post. This process may take a month, and then after 1 month only the project manager is selected, and he comes on board 2 months later. By the time the charter is already signed. The project manager may not be there in the picture, that's what I'm saying. We try to visualize and all of you will understand what it is. The charter is independent of the project manager.
Yeah, that's what got me confused.
Okay, is that clear now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Very good, very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for, see, if we don't speak, then it's very difficult to type, and others will also understand better. Thank you very much. Let me go back to the slides. Thank you very much for that question. And I'm hoping that it has clarified everyone's doubt, right? Many people would have had, many learners would have had a similar doubt, and now this would have clarified. Now let me go back to where I started. So develop your project charter. Now I hope you have some very good insight into what the charter is. The project charter is an output of the business process, pre-project work. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Jason, I get your question. I think I overlooked your question. What is the difference between a project customer and a project sponsor? First of all, project sponsor is what you are clear about project sponsor? Now, if you look at PMI, there's nothing called project customer. The project customer is probably used by some companies, but it's not defined in the project management institutes, PMBOK, right? There's nothing called project customer.
Sir, the link that provided by Linton in the e-video,
yeah.
the video that has mentioned is project customer.
Wait, I'm coming to
you.
So
very confusing. So which material should we follow?
No. See, I'll clarify, Jason. Just wait. I told you that the PMI doesn't talk about project customer. Now we have to infer from a common general English term what is a project customer. Anyone who
here it states that the project customer is the person or group who has a problem to solve, and you also do the approval of the budget.
Wait. See, the person who approves the budget is the sponsor.
So should we ignore this material, or should you highlight to Linton to update the material? It's very confusing that we study on the video and then what we learn from the book is totally different.
Okay, now let's get to the bottom of it. Okay, I get to the bottom of it. You tell me which video it is, and then I will try to give you. See, if you have doubts, you come back to me saying that, hey, this video is telling me like this. Now, if you make a sweeping statement, go and ask Linton to change. Have we understood the concept first?
I'll send you the link.
Okay, I will take a look at the link. Give me a minute. See, when you have a doubt question, then you will raise it like that. Don't immediately, please. It doesn't say. See, all these are established. When we say project customer, I said PMI, PMBOK, but doesn't
do we know that this PMI or is it another organization that come up with this project? Don't know.
Everything is based on PMI. Please. Everything is based on PMI.
How do we know that this is based on PMI? Because this is the material provided by Linton. So we assume that this is correct.
This is correct. Yes. So wait. Let me get to the bottom. Let's talk once I've gone through that. Right? I don't want to talk from thin air. See, sometimes it's the interpretations.
sponsor.
Yeah, I'm just going through that. Okay, so I have gone through the video, at least a part of it, and then see here, understand sometimes there are synonyms. When I say synonyms, there are similar meaning uh, depending on the situation. So when we say project customer, is it prohibited that we can't say project customer? I would not think so. But let me complete it. The sponsor is one who is funding it. The project customer can be your customer who is purchasing your product.
But sir, in the document, in the transcript, right, it says that the customer funds the project. I sent you the transcript, the portion
Okay.
that talk about this customer funds the project. And then sponsor also fund the project.
Okay.
So which one?
So here in this context, it's used as a synonym, as in meaning similar.
Yeah, but it's a they are both are stakeholder.
The customer should not be mistaken as someone. Okay. Yeah.
No, customer is not the external customer. Customer
Ah,
to the
very good.
internal department.
Very good.
You
got
another project sponsor. Then you a project customer. Both fund the same project.
You got the message very clear, Jason. I think there is some ambiguity. I would not want to say there's a little bit of ambiguity there. The project customer here, they are using specific to that LinkedIn learning video. I think they are using it interchangeably as a sponsor. I will give my feedback to Ethan.
Yeah, that's right. Ethan always give us all these old and outdated videos that is very misleading to the student.
Let me
As an academic, they should be sending us all the latest and the greatest material, not something that is already archived.
Noted, Jason.
Now how are we going to study? Should we follow the book only, or should we ignore all these videos?
See, okay. No. Don't get to that extreme step, Jason.
We have been through all most of the videos. Some of the links are not working. Some of the material are outdated.
Jason.
It's our time. We spent so much time, and then later we found out that it's outdated. You understand? If we go back to school like NUS or polytechnic, all will be outdated. But Lipton is giving us the outdated one. It's very frustrating that we spend so much time going through all the video, and then we found out that this is outdated already. It's not in the PMI. How do we know? If we know, then we wouldn't have come for this course.
Okay, Jason, I hear you. Okay. Now, I do not want to get into conversations relating to this because it's a deviation from the academic content I will deliver. Let me focus on 2-3 things. Here, this is based on PMI, Project Management Institute. The certifying body, it's an American standard, it's an ANSI standard. There can be a little bit of variations here and there. It doesn't mean that you can make a sweeping statement that Leithan Academy is not updating it. I have trained project management courses in Singapore Polytechnic, and I can tell you with conviction that the materials provided here are definitely of a good standard. I do not know what makes you, that's why I said I don't want to get into conversation here. I'm not going to pursue this topic any further, but I will tell you the answer. You be guided by the slides that I have flashed just now. Let me share it again. Okay, if you look at the slides, these are based on PMBOK guide, and this is based on the 6th edition, which is the latest edition. The 7th edition, as I said in class 1 itself, is probably work in process behind the scenes. It's not published yet. When the 7th edition comes, these slides will also be updated to reflect the 7th edition contents. And this slide, the overview slide, is also based on PMBOK guide 6th edition. If there are one or two terms which are causing you confusion, let's get that sorted out. That is where we have a class. You asked a question, I explained to you, and let's go ahead with that without making any sweeping statements. If you have anything, please take it up with Ethan Academy as well. But as far as I see it, it's a sweeping statement that you are making. It's not going to be, you are saying that the world is coming to an end just because one or two synonyms have been used. I would not agree. Let's not get into that debate. I will focus on my teaching, and yes, I will give a feedback to Ethan on my.
So project customer is outdated. Am I correct?
It's not outdated. See,
But there are two project sponsor. One is project customer and one is project sponsor.
It is used as a synonym, as an equivalent word. It's not hard coded. It's a synonymous. It is expressing that it is an equivalent of the sponsor. Okay. Now let's move on. The develop project charter is the sort of seed, is the sort of beginning for the project itself, project life cycles to start. The key things in the project charter you want to revolve around will be three things. I hope you remember. The first thing, I said scope. And what is scope? Scope deals with, what does a scope deal with? It deals with all the product features. What product are you going to develop and deliver? I will repeat, what product you are expected to develop and deliver. When you say develop, I'm saying creating the product. So scope is one of the pillars of the project charter. So in the project charter, you should know what are you going to supposed to do. Are you going to construct an swimming pool or an e-commerce application? Again, my examples, again PM project management, PMI clearly defines it as industry agnostic. Whether you are doing it in a construction industry or an oil and gas industry or an IT industry, it does not matter. So scope is one which deals with the features, functionalities of the product that the project aims to create, develop and deliver. Okay. And what is the next thing? I said three things, right? One is scope. What will be the next thing? If you look at the slide, it's schedule. And what is schedule? Schedule deals with the time frame. See, at the time when the sponsor say has got $1 million to invest in a particular e-commerce application project, he may have a very vague idea when he wants it. He'll say, oh, I need it sometime in the next 9 to 15 months. Or that becomes your broad schedule. It's not well defined. It could be a range. It could be heuristic. It could be estimated. Because no one has done a ground level time duration study. Because the project is not started. That's a part of the project work. Okay. Now, sequence activities will be one of those within the schedule where you are going to see the dependency of the activities. Now, if I construct a house, do I paint the wall first or do I do the electrical work first? I should finish my electrical work for the painting to be done later. If I do the painting first and then the electrician comes and scraps off certain portions of that, then it's going to be very ugly. It's not going to be. So there is a dependency. Can I complete a running race without starting it? I need to start for it to finish. Correct? So there are dependencies. So we will come more when we cover schedule. I'll talk about dependencies. That's where the sequence activities. So cost, the scope is one thing, schedule is one thing. The third thing would be cost. These three are the important pillars called the triple constraints or triple objectives of a project. In cost, what do? Yeah. In the charter, if you look at the planning, right, there is a cost management, estimate cost, determine budget. If you look at the charter, what are we going to do in the charter? Charter should highlight what is the high level scope, high level. What is the high level schedule and what is the high level cost at a minimum. Does it also tell you about risk? Yes, the project charter tells you about risk as well. Is it very detailed? No. At the project charter stage, it's very, very light, very high level. What is perceived by the sponsor, what is perceived by the project team will come later when the planning starts. Okay, and now we move on to, so these are the things that you definitely have in project charter. Identify stakeholders. Why do you need to have that identify stakeholders? Even the charter gives you a list of key stakeholders, but when you go into the identify stakeholder process, it's a dedicated process where you want to see who all are impacted in addition to whatever is mentioned in the project charter. It's a deep dive of what is given in the project charter, and identify stakeholders would do that. Now, this is about initiation. Now, and this also comes at integration. If you look at the row wise, what are we looking at? Integration. What integration means? The sum total. If I can go back to the slide that we saw yesterday, integration. So, okay, there's a message. Let me look into the message. Okay. Yes, yes, correct, Ishan. The three constraints, triple constraints will be included in the charter along with identified stakeholders. For if you want to confirm this, let's go straight. Since you asked this, I'm going to jump into the charter, right? If you look at the slides that I'm flashing, I hope you can see that. Project integration, develop project charter, and did we not see yesterday 108, if I remember the slide number? No, 106. What does the project see? Project charter should address. What should it do? Now, let's come to the triple constraints since you asked it. High level requirements of what? Of the product you're going to provide, deliver. Summary milestone schedule. What is milestone? Schedule, time. What is pre-approved financial resources? It's the budget. You will say 1 million or 1 to 1.5 million is the budget. Very high level. It's not even called budget at this stage. It becomes budget later on. That's why it's a pre-approved financial resources. They don't use the word budget here, because at the charter level, it's a commitment. It's not decided what is the budget. So you see this one. This is relating to the dollars. This is relating to the time of the project. This one and this, all this, they relate to the scope. They all relate to the scope. What is this? This relates to the risk. Can you see that? I'm highlighting. I hope you can see the overall project risk. As identified by the sponsor, not identified by the team yet. The project team has not even been onboarded. Project manager may or may not be there. Okay? Summary milestone schedule, and then key stakeholder list. Key stakeholders, not all stakeholders, key stakeholders. And then project approval requirements, project exit about the project. And then if you look at it, name of the assigned project manager, I remember I said if any, right? If the project manager is not identified there, you may go into the market and hire one. Responsibility and authority level. Authority for what? Authority for spending. Can he pass TA bills? Can he pass taxi bills? Can he pass wood bills? Can he hire people? Can he fire people? Can he promote people? All that will come under responsibility and authority level. And if you look finally, name and authority of the sponsor, authorizing the project charter. This is the most important first thing, right? So if you don't put a name and authority of the person who is signing it, the project charter is void. That means it's incomplete. Okay? So good that you brought up the Isan, good that you brought up the 3C charter. Now I hope you can relate to what I was just saying. Remember, what does the charter contain? Try to slowly, gradually internalize this project charter, what it contains. This is a very, very important slide, very, very important topic from a project management perspective. Please don't lose sight of it. Yeah, there is nothing else I can tell you except that you have to continuously be glued to this slide. This is an important slide because it sets the aspects. Okay, legal aspects, Rajiv, I don't know what you're asking me. If legal aspects, what do you mean? Primarily, legal aspects will kick in when there are two different entities involved.
Let's say there's a, sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Let's say there's a patent for a particular product. So will that be dealt with the charter stage, or let's say this product is patented by a competitor?
Okay. Now that okay. Now I get what you say. So you are creating a product which someone else has got the IP rights or the patent rights.
Correct. Let's say a new car, for example, a battery operated car, or a new drone. Yeah.
Correct. So it will not specifically apply to project, right? It will apply to anything that a business does. For example, let me tell you. We know, we have heard that there are some gray markets in several pockets of the world, right? You have Versace or the Adidas shoes being sold for $10.
Correct. Branded items.
Showroom price. Yeah. So how do these people survive? Are they right in doing it? No, they are not right in doing it. Can they be legally prosecuted? Yes, they can be legally prosecuted. Whether they are doing it in a project environment or outside in a trading environment, it doesn't matter. Anything legal, legal will always override. And if you look at the PMI also has a section on the ethics, professionalism of a project manager, which clearly tells you have to respect laws of land, you have to not get into bribing, you don't want to get into any unethical or unfair means. If someone is doing unethical, it expects you to report also. That is the level of the professional governance that is imposed on project management fraternity. So yes, legal aspects, they override. They will always override. Now, when you said legal aspects, I thought about for a minute about another situation where let us say, I'll give you some examples. DBS Bank engages IBM for some of the applications that they want to develop. For DBS Bank wants to use some digitalized applications, and then let's say they task IBM to do that. Now here we have two different business entities. DBS is one business organization, IBM is yet another separate business organization. So when they come together, when DBS mandates IBM to do a project for them, then there will be a legally binding contract that they will enter into. So the legal aspects relating to inter-business operations, inter-business transactions will be governed by the legally worded contract. And good that you pointed out, Rajiv. I want to mention here one thing. Whenever you get into contracts with other parties as part of project work or procurement or outsourcing, always remember the project manager is not a legal person. He may have legal knowledge, but he is there as a project manager. He should not get into the work of approving a legal an agreement. It should always be given to the legal department within that organization, because that's a professional, dedicated legal team. Having said that, if some companies don't have a legal team because they're small or they're not that big enough, then nothing stops the company from going to the lawyers outside in the market to engage them for on a project basis or on a specific agreement for charting out the agreement. These agreements are legally binding. If they are not properly worded in a legal professionals, you run the risk of getting into legal troubles.
Correct.
That's a very good point that you raised. So yes, the legal aspects can be inter-business legal aspects, which I just mentioned, or it can be the governmental legal aspects, where the overall the public law they will override. Not if you look at the professionalism, professional ethics, which Project Management Institute says, sometimes it's very difficult to follow also. Even I as a PMP, sometimes I feel, hey, there are some instances, there are some situations in the real world, out there in the real world, where you are put in a very, very tight corner.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so we will not debate that, but definitely there are some questions we may not get immediate answers. Very, very complex situations I'm talking about, not the general ones.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, thanks, Rajiv. Thanks for that question.
Thank you, sir.
And yeah, now we will move on. I wanted to. Okay, it's already 1 hour. Let's see. So I will cover this now. If you want a break, can we take it after 15 minutes? 11:15. Is that okay? Yeah, if someone wants a break, just type it and we can take a break anytime. But let me complete this. Okay, thanks, Rajesh. So we will have the develop project charter and identify stakeholders as the key aspects. Now after the initiation, the charter gives you a very clear path. What you have to deliver, when you have to deliver, within how much cost you have to deliver, what are the broad risks. These are the 4-5 requirements that we have. If you look at it, it doesn't talk about quality. Now, this one doesn't mention about quality. Of course, a weak reference to the quality will be success criteria or approval requirements. Now, why do we don't talk about quality? What is quality? Quality, is it any different from scope? Quality is a subset of scope. Now, if you come and tell me, like, let's say you are the sponsor and you tell me, hey, Mr. Project Manager, I want you to make a car. You give me the specification, the weight, wheel, engine power, etc., the fuel, everything you are giving me, everything, okay, I do it. But you don't give me the color of the car. I go and deliver a red car to you. And you come back and say, no, I didn't ask you for a red car. But then you didn't also tell me which car. Who is right, who is wrong? These are the finer aspects of quality. Quality is a subset of scope. The finer you define your product scope, the finer the quality is met. Okay, that is why quality, understand it as a subset of scope. Now, what do we do in scope? Scope, we have to start somewhere, right? When you get into project planning, you may ask, hey, why don't we start with cost? Why don't we start with the risk? But you have to start with scope. And why scope? Scope tells you what product you want to deliver. Okay, very good question, Rajesh. If any of the elements of the project charter is not adhered to, can the project still proceed if the project sponsor says go? Very practical question, very real world question. There are several projects, like when the sponsor says, yes, go ahead. Oh, what if I did not give you the cost? What if I did not tell you the risk? What if the charter doesn't have the... It's an incomplete situation. It's a very subjective situation. Now, PMI, from PMI's perspective, it says you must have all these things. Now, what your question is, it's a real world question. It's a practical question. How do we deal? It's very subjective, but ask me what the answer should be. If I'm the project manager, I will put my foot down and say, in the interest of your business, what is the project manager's job? The project manager's job is to deliver a product that the sponsor wants. Now, if the sponsor cannot spend enough time or effort to define what he or she wants upfront, will the project manager be able to deliver what the sponsor wants? Now, in the interest of the sponsor, in the interest of value addition to the sponsor, the project manager should insist in addressing getting the gaps cleared ASAP. Since you asked me this, I'm going to share with you one slide. I don't know what the slide is there. Okay, I'll come to it because when we come to that portion, I'll cover it. Now, what I wanted to tell you is, look, any changes that sponsor wants, if they're defined in the initial phase of the project, the cost of the change is going to be very less. But if the sponsor comes somewhere midway of the project, or when the project is going to complete, and then the sponsor tells, request for a change, this is going to be extremely costly. Costly to whom? Costly to the sponsor. Why? Because every change which comes later in the life cycle of the project is going to cost you more. I will give you an example for this. I hope many of you are aware of what a project software is, an application software is. Some of you may have a hardware background, so I'm assuming you know what is a software application. Let's say we as a project team, some company or some sponsor is asking us to create a huge banking application, online banking application, net banking application. Let's say we do that. Let's say it's a 12-month project. Now, the customer did not ask you for any specific change in the initial stage, but in month 9 of the 12-month project, the customer says, hey, you know, we would love to have all the debit balances shown in red font. Now, as a project manager, will you say no? Or should you say yes? You will go through the perform integrated change control. You will assess the impact. If you look at this monitoring and control, there is perform integrated change control. In the perform integrated change control, there will be a CAB, change advisory board or change control board, whatever they are interchangeably called, CAB or CCB. When that happens, let's say the change control board will ask what is the impact. Now, because it comes in 9 months, this change request, it's possible that you may have to go and change the code in 42 different places. Because several modules have been developed, several application modules have been there. You may have to go and make changes to the code in 42 places, let us say. It's an example, okay? Now that is going to be much more costlier. If the customer had told you in month 1, hey, I want all the red debit balances to be shown in red font, your design would have made one change, preventing you from making 42 changes. You would have just made one change if it was given to you in the earliest stage of the process, project life cycle. So remember, changes coming in the later part of the project is going to cost the project budget, which means project budget means it's going to cost the sponsor. So I hope, Rajesh, I answered your question. So if the project charter is incomplete, you may want to diplomatically talk to the sponsor, explain to the sponsor, highlight him, educate him. Sir, if you are not going to give me these missing gaps now, we are going to incur more costs, which is not in the best interest of the sponsor's organization, the business which is going to have this project. to some, so in real world, you have to negotiate. All the interpersonal skills will come. It's not an easy task, I'm telling you. It's not an easy task. Why sponsor has the capacity to give the money? And what happens? There can be some, see, this is a real world problem I'm telling, okay? The PMI framework is there. PMI framework says you should develop teamwork. As a project manager, how will you develop teamwork if there are two strong team members under you reporting to you? Both are very strong, both are say VP level, and they don't see eye to eye each other. Whenever they go into a meeting, this fellow will say, if person VP A will say one thing and VP B will say, oh no, that's not correct. And whatever VP B says, VP A will say not correct. You cannot develop the team cohesiveness. PMI will say, yes, use team building, use interpersonal skills. But the interpersonal skills in a real world, you need to be experienced. You need to have that real scope or skill developed. Yeah, it's a very good point, Hong Wei. The charter is not clearly defined at the beginning, and if the project goes ahead, understand, if the project goes ahead without a clear charter, you are heading for trouble. You are heading for chaos. You are heading for potential termination of the project. Projects need not complete. Projects can also terminate. And if the more care you spend in the initial stages, both sponsor and project team, the project is got a better chance of success. Why do projects fail? Projects fail for this very reason. The sponsor says, hey, go ahead, I'll give you all the requirements later. He would have won that, for that moment he would have won. He will have it his way. Eventually it will come and bite him back. Yes, monitoring and control is a very good process to answer your question. Yes, monitoring and control is meant to fix all these gaps. And that is why, if you remember, I want to show you that graph, that slide again. Remember yesterday we saw this slide, yeah? See, all these slides are very intuitive. Let me go back to that slide. Wait, give me a minute. Let me scroll. Where did we see that slide? This is the slide. Can you see the slide? Very good point, Raji. Sorry, give me a minute. Yeah. So, to answer your question, this is monitoring and control. You see, it is spanning across all the other processes. Can you see this? This answers your question beautifully well. And you got a very right question. Very, very nice question. If the charter, I'll repeat it for the benefit of all other learners. If the charter is not clearly defined at the beginning, and if the project goes ahead, this is a real world situation. Can monitoring and control at the early stages resolve the issue as well? Absolutely brilliant. The answer is yes. And this diagram tells you that is the correct answer. Yeah. Okay, I don't want you to be held back. It's morning, 11:14 now. Let's take a short break. We'll be back by 11:30, and with the promise to continue where we left. Yeah.